Hey class. So our new topic is balance. Balance is very important and it could make or break a design. Here we have, just to start off the class is just another, comic strip here of we have three preparators. They work at the museum, they carry paintings around, they hang paintings for a show. And these three preparators, we have two on one side because there's a lot more painted stuff versus one on the other side because it's lighter. There's a little dot, right? So that's the joke. If you study art or you watch or you study art history or what have you, you can kind of appreciate the joke in this. I think it's kind of clever. It's kind of funny, but yeah, it doesn't mean that the painting's heavier on one side than the other physically, but visually, yes, it is heavier on one side visually than the other. All right, let's go. So, what is balance? It's the distribution of visual weight within a composition. Another way of saying this is what is balance? It's the weight of eye attraction, your attention, where you look at and where you're looking at the most or the longest is weight. It's heavy. So, if all your attention is on one area of your design versus the rest of your composition, then that area is too heavy. Your eye is not moving around. So you have to choreograph the viewer's attention. And this is done through balance. Now there's several formats of balance. I'm going to go through four of them, just four basic ones. And then of course there's everything in between those four. But these are the four basic ones. Okay? So let's look at this piece, right? And this piece in color, you're going to see that there is, a nice bright orangey glow of the sunset over here. It's a funeral, procession, and you have from small black umbrellas to large ones. So my eye kind of goes up all these umbrellas, and again, all these black umbrellas create a kind of visual line. And if you remember from our other chapters or our other topics, this is an implied line. All these umbrellas, implied line. Now, color is strong, but so is position and size. So we tend to come up here, we look at the red, then we come to this large white area for a break or a rest in our eye, and then we go back up again. So it's kind of circular, if you will. If we were to look at this piece in black and white, the balance changes. It's not really the same anymore. We might tend to look at this area down in here longer. So you can see that this is intended to be in color and it's balanced for color. Now, with balance, we have an axis. The axis is also known as like maybe the fulcrum. The fulcrum, if you think of a seesaw or a weight, it is where we have, that triangle. And then if we put three stones over here, but then we put a larger boulder over here, can we reach a balance? And that fulcrum, many times for flat visual pictorial designs, is an axis. And you can have an axis that is horizontal or an axis that is vertical. We tend to see things with a vertical axis because our eyes are horizontal, right? Equilibrium is trying to reach an overall balance. Overall balance. Balance does not mean whatever is on one side, you make it equal on the other. That's not balance. That's symmetry, like our face, but balance means that it doesn't matter what you're using, whether it's triangles and images, you can still reach a balance even though they're not the exact same depictions. So it's about equilibrium, an even flow of your eye or attention. So we have horizontal and vertical placements. Imbalance. Sometimes artists, such as here Philip Guston, he makes these paintings, and like this painting right here, it's like a cloud of shoes and soles of the shoes, and it's floating in the air, and it's like this little door is holding it up, and it just feels like it's about to fall down. It's balanced, but it's on the verge of not balanced. And when artists do this or designers do this, it adds tension. And that kind of tension really gets, it's good. It makes us look at it and feel a little bit uncomfortable. Too much imbalance, then we just reject it. We don't really look at it. We don't want to be bothered that much. So that's a delicate balance. That's where artists and designers, they play a little bit on that. All right, so here we have a close-up Philip Guston, amazing artist. The beginning of his career was very much color field paintings, abstract paintings that were amazing. And then towards the end of his life, he became very figurative. Definitely should look at his work. It may seem strange and odd, but this is kind of work that when you understand where it's coming from, the content, and his life, you can access deeper meanings in it, which, it just enhances your experience. Here's a nice example of a painting where the balance is horizontal. We got the airiness, the weight of the sky, and the weight of the ground. Okay, so it's quite balanced. So here are the four types. We have symmetry, like our faces, whatever's on the left is on the right. We have asymmetry, so if I go like this with my face, that could be asymmetrical. We have radial. Think of a pizza. It's balanced in a radial circular fashion. Think of a snowflake. It's balanced in a radial circular fashion. Flowers. Mandalas. Some of the stained glass windows in churches that are circular, those designs are radial. Then we have crystallographic, also known as all-over balance. That's when you get into work like quilts. You can look at certain abstract art paintings or non-objective paintings. Some of Jackson Pollock's drip paintings could be considered crystallographic. So it means that no one area is important, that the whole thing is important. Pattern, wallpaper pattern is crystallographic. Okay? So symmetry. Symmetry is the simplest kind. It's bilateral. It's also, it is the simplest, but sometimes it may not be as exciting. It doesn't feel as natural. But it becomes very symbolic. And it becomes very unearthly. And that's why when we look at, this kind of balance like symmetry, it's considered formal balance. You see it in churches and synagogues and temples. It's that ultimate, perfection. Okay? Also, government buildings tend to be symmetrical. Greek temples tend to be symmetrical. Right. So, this image is about this building back here and how it's perfectly symmetrical. Whatever's on the left is on the right. Same thing here with the inside temple of this church. Some artists like to use this, like Ed Rushka. He likes to use a lot of typography with his work, a lot of words as well. And this is, I think this is an onomatopoeia, I'm not sure, but you can see if you read it one way, step on no pets, and then you read it the other way, step on no pets. And it's symmetrical. And yes, we have some photography where you can see this bush is quite symmetrical. And now we head into asymmetry. Asymmetrical works tend to be more natural, that's what we kind of do. They take a little more work, but they feel more, less laborious. And so we have here Ham Steinbeck. Wow, this guy, amazing work. And the way he balances dissimilar objects, which is what you see here, is great. You have these shiny, round, reflective teapots, and two of them balance three very square typographical detergents. And he does all these games of playing with asymmetry. You really should look him up for really good examples of how far can you go with asymmetry. An asymmetrical bridge. Looks like it won't work, right? That's what asymmetry does. but it's visually appealing. Same thing here. Rather than doing a portrait or a drawing of a person facing you face forward, a little bit to the side, adds a little asymmetry, makes it a little bit more natural, more engaging. Here we have symmetry. We have a wooden chair that's been flattened out and opened on both ends. Very symmetrical, very symbolic. So for photographers, asymmetry seems to be a more interesting way of capturing maybe personality, drama, mood, atmosphere. Right? If we look at her eyes, they capture us, but then we come down to this black, and then we shoot up through here with the cigarette, and then this open space, and before we float away, we're drawn again to the face. The face is has a very strong visual weight. 3 ways to achieve asymmetry. You can achieve it through value or color, through texture or pattern, through position and eye direction. There's many ways. I mean, one of the fascinating things is when you start thinking about, here we have this large square, it's textural, and it has the same weight. It's balanced, has the same sense of equilibrium with this small, tight, intense black square. So again, we have more examples we can read on, and how texture and also objects that don't have a really good shape, such as this amoeba right over here, right? Shape, the more irregular a shape is, the stronger it can be. The more predictable, like, okay, I got it. That's a triangle. That's a square. That's a circle. The less weight it could have. Okay, we have more examples. Texture and pattern can add visual weight. You see there's a larger one here. So we have this red volcano. And so we are attracted to red. And we come up here, and then it closes off up here, and our eye comes upward, up the volcano. But then we're attracted to this pattern of clouds to the left. So we come over to the left. And then we come back down to these small trees down here, which is also textural. And we come back up with the red. So there's a nice circular motion that is happening here. And this is the balance that is created. This is asymmetrical, and it has a nice choreography of our attention. Again, some examples of how we can create a sense of balance, and yet it's not symmetrical, it's asymmetrical. This is where I was speaking about the fulcrum and how we balance right in here. And so as we go through these slides, you're going to see some different examples of asymmetry used in art. Okay. So let's go ahead and move forward. Oh, this is a great artist. What is it? Martin Puyère. It's hard to say some of these artists' names, but amazing sculptor. Love his work. You should look him up. Puyère, Puyear. First name Martin. Amazing. So again, this photograph is interesting because it appears symmetrical. You feel like same thing on the left, same thing on the right, but yet it's dissimilar objects. So it's a very close to symmetrical, but technically asymmetrical. Okay, radial. Radial is when elements radiate or circulate around from a common center. So we have a center and everything comes out from the center. So here we have a piece right in here, a sculptural piece. We have mandalas, right? We have flowers that we can look at. We have explosions. Again, looking at some of these examples. All over a crystallographic. That means everything, and it doesn't have to be flat, right? This is an installation at the Holocaust Museum. And this is an installation of like family portraits of all the people that, their lives are gone. But when you walk in through this hall, at first you see there's just a few photographs, but then you're overtaken by the enormity, the amount of how many people are no longer here, from World War II through the death camps. And it's meant to kind of overwhelm you, not in a bad way, but more like just, surround you with it. Again, we have quilting that creates a sense of pattern. That's all over. And here we have Rauschenberg, I believe, with the maps of the United States. But the way he painted it, it's just like everything is important on there. And that's about it, everybody. So, crystallographic is everywhere. We can find more examples of that, but it's when everything is important. Sounds easy, but sometimes it's not as easy as you think to create that without it being just a pattern. A pattern would be the easy way to do it. Non-pattern, it's like confetti everywhere. All right, class. Well, that's it for balance. And it's really one of those important elements that you can have a lot of fun with and really trying to see how can you control the viewer's attention. Alrighty.